Cal Becker was dreaming of rain when the client arrived. It was a stupid dream. It had not rained on Earth in 50 years. Not really. And it definitely never rained on Joran 3. The outer moon was a ball of oxidized iron and regulatory neglect, a place where shipping manifests went to die. The hangar bay was cold. Cal's breath fogged in the gray, pre-dawn light, a light that only highlighted the rust scabs on the bulkhead. He was sleeping, if you could call it that, on a cot. The cot's frame was bent, and one specific spring had been engineered by a sadist to find the softest part of his kidney. He was an ex-smuggler, which was a romantic way of saying he used to fly unregistered cargo. Now he was just a mechanic for hire, which was a polite way of saying he was broke. He was an earther, a Terran, which meant he was second class anywhere that mattered in the interstellar concordium. Earth was the galaxy's decaying backwater, the old neighborhood everyone pretended they did not come from. A sound cut through the clang of the nutrient paste vendor 3 bays over. It was the sound of a ship he did not recognize. Too quiet. A magnetic drive whispers. Cal sat up, his boots hitting the grated floor. The cot groaned in relief. He grabbed the plasma cutter off his workbench, not for the heat, but for the weight. He was 38, which was old for this life, and he was too tired for a fight. The bay door's lock hissed. The door slid open. The figure who walked in was wrong. Joran 3 was for grease monkeys, debt runners, and bounty hunters. The woman who entered was tall, poised, and moved with a silence that screamed money. She was wrapped in a long, dark cloak, but the real trick was her face. It was blurred, not physically but perceptually. It was a glamour disguise, high-end, the kind that slid off your memory. You could look right at her and, a second later, forget the color of her eyes. It was technology designed to make her unmemorable. It was failing. She was too stressed. Cal could see the shimmer, like heat haze over a highway. "We are closed," Cal said, his voice rough with sleep and suspicion. He kept the plasma cutter low. The woman stopped, 10 feet from his cot. Her voice was clear, crisp, and laced with an aristocratic accent he could not place. It was also shaking. "I need a mechanic." "Is the ship broken?" Cal asked, glancing past her into the docking bay. He saw the nose of her ship. It was a Sarai-class courier, sleek, fast, and worth more than the entire moon. "Yeah, I don't work on those. The diagnostic tools cost more than my life. Try the main hub." "The ship is not broken," she said, her hands clasping in front of her. "I need you. I need a boyfriend. For this weekend." Cal stared. The glamour haze flickered, and he caught a glimpse of a sharp chin and lips that were painted a dark, dangerous violet. He let the plasma cutter drop to the bench. This was new. A sting, maybe. A trap. "A boyfriend," he repeated. "A bonded partner," she corrected, as if that clarified anything. "A public companion. Someone to stand beside me, to look like he belongs with me." Cal scrubbed a hand over his face, the grit of the hangar floor transferring to his skin. He looked at her, then at his broken cot, then at the half-finished engine diagnostic on his console. He was behind on rent. He was behind on everything. "You came to a hangar on Joran 3 for a date?" "I came for someone disposable," she said, and instantly regretted it. Someone unattached, someone from Earth, someone who understands desperation. He almost laughed. "Sister, you got the right guy." He looked back at the cot, the damn spring, the cold, the smell of ozone and failure. Cal Becker shrugged. He was tired of being cold. "Okay," he said, half joking, half deadly serious. "What is in it for me? Do I get a real bed or not?" The question hung in the metallic air. He expected her to haggle, to offer credits. The woman did not hesitate, the glamour shimmer smoothed out, her voice suddenly locked in place by pure, cold authority. "Yes," she said. "A real bed, in my private suite, aboard a royal cruiser, with sheets that have a thread count higher than your credit score. We leave in 10 minutes. Cal blinked. Royal cruiser. That was the second time that word had come up. His joke had just collided with her reality. "My name is Vera," she said, extending a hand, then seemingly realizing he was not the handshaking type, and pulling it back. "Cal," he said. He grabbed his jacket. It smelled like oil. He did not care. 10 minutes. The disguised transport was not a cruiser. It was the courier he had seen, the Sarai class. It was built for speed, not comfort. But the inside was cleaner than any ship he had been on since his smuggling days. It was all brushed aluminum and cool. Blue lighting. Vera, as she called herself, sat in the co-pilot seat and did not speak. Cal took the pilot's chair, her ship, her flight plan, but she let him fly. A test. He did not mind. He eased the ship out of the hangar, the magnets barely making a sound, and pushed it toward the black. "Where to?" he asked, his hands flying over controls that felt comfortingly familiar. "The Velithos system," she said. Cal's hands froze for half a second. "Velithos, as in the TriStar Diplomatic Summit? That Velithos?" "That is the one. Vera, that is the biggest political gathering of the decade. The Concordium is renegotiating the Terran treaties. Every noble, every politician, every corporate shark in the galaxy is going to be there." "I am aware," she said, her voice tight. "That is the point." He shot the ship into the jump lane. The universe dissolved into a blue-white tunnel. The silence in the cockpit stretched, filled only by the low hum of the drive. He was taking a mystery woman to the most secure high-stakes event in the galaxy, to pretend to be her boyfriend. This was not a good idea, but the thought of that bed, a real mattress, maybe even a pillow, kept his hands steady. The journey took 6 hours. 6 hours of her staring at the jump stream and him monitoring the energy readouts. When they dropped back into real space, the view was overwhelming. Velithos was not a planet. It was a royal moon, a polished pearl orbiting a gas giant, but the space around it was clogged. Fleets. Capital ships from the Xylosian Empire, delicate crystalline vessels from the Andromedan Collective, and a dozen dreadnoughts from the core worlds. It was a parking lot for armies. "They are not going to let us dock," Cal said. "What, not in a courier? We do not have the clearance codes." "Ooh, we do," Vera said. She keyed something into her console. A signal squirted into the void. A second later, the sky tore open. A shadow blotted out the stars. A ship, vast and silver, shaped like a blade, emerged from a stealth field. It was a Sarai warship, one of the big ones. It was not broadcasting its name, but Cal knew the class. A docking bay opened in its belly, a cavern of white light. "They are expecting us," Vera said, and for the first time. Cal heard genuine fear in her voice. He guided the courier into the bay. It was massive, large enough to hold 1,000 ships like this one. Before the landing clamps had even fully engaged, the ramp was lowering, and the guards were waiting. They were not human. They were Sarai, 8 feet tall, in armor that looked like polished obsidian. They carried pulse lances. There were 24 of them, standing in a perfect, terrifying line. Cal powered down the courier. "Okay, Vera, this is the part where you tell me what is really going on, because those guys do not look like they are here to validate our parking." "Just follow my lead," she whispered, "and for the love of the stars, do not speak unless I ask you to." She walked down the ramp. Cal followed a step behind, his old jacket feeling thin and useless. The moment Vera's foot hit the hangar deck, the atmosphere changed. The energy shifted. The 24 obsidian guards slammed their lances against the deck in a single, deafening crash. Then, as one, they lowered their heads. Their hands moved to their chests in a sharp salute. They did not kneel, but it was the next closest thing. It was a gesture of profound, agonizing respect. Cal stopped breathing. He looked at the guards. He looked at the warship. He looked at Vera. The glamour disguise she wore was useless now, not because it was failing, but because the respect of the guards was a spotlight. "Vera," Cal said, his voice a low rasp. She turned. Her face was pale. The glamour finally dissolved, melting away like smoke. She was not just a rich woman. Her skin had a faint pearlescent luster. Her eyes a shade of violet that did not exist in the human spectrum. She was beautiful, yes, but more than that, she was terrifyingly regal. He knew the face. He had seen it on the galactic news feeds. The face of the Sarai dynasty. This was not Vera. This was Princess Virelia of the House of Sarai, the heir to a throne that controlled 3 star systems and the rarest element in the galaxy. "You," Cal whispered, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. "You are her." "In here," she said, grabbing his arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. She pulled him past the saluting guards into a soundproofed, pressurized lounge. The door hissed shut, sealing them in. Virelia immediately began to pace. The cloak came off. Underneath, she was wearing a simple black flight suit, but it looked like it was made of woven silk. "You lied to me," Cal said, leaning against the wall. His heart was hammering. "I was selective with the truth," she snapped, her panic returning. "If I had told you who I was, you would not have come. You do not know that. I would have charged you more. Listen to me, Cal Becker of Earth." She stopped pacing and pinned him with those impossible violet eyes. "My dynasty is dying. My house is old. We are traditional, too traditional. My council is forcing me into an alliance to secure our borders." "An alliance? A marriage?" She spat the word. "To Lord Senex." Cal's blood ran cold. Lord Senex. Everyone knows Senex. He was an aggressive, expansionist noble from the neighboring empire. He did not make alliances, he consumed them. He was a shark, and the council was throwing her into the water. "But," she continued, a faint, cunning light in her eyes, "there is a loophole. A law older than the council itself. They cannot force a marriage if I am already bonded. If I appear to be romantically entangled, by choice, their hands are tied. They cannot risk offending a new, potential ally." Cal pushed off the wall. "And I am the new, potential ally." "You are the temporary shield," she said. "You are a Terran. You have no house, no political weight. You are safe. You are the one person in the galaxy who, if I am seen with you, they will know it was my choice, not a political maneuver. They will assume it is a youthful rebellion." "A youthful rebellion involving the Tri-Star Summit?" "I need to walk into that summit on your arm, Cal. I need to look at Lord Senex and my council, and I need them to believe I am yours. Just for the weekend, just until the summit ends and the marriage mandate expires." Cal processed this. He was not just a fake boyfriend. He was a political statement, a human middle finger to one of the most dangerous nobles in the Concordium. He thought of his cot. He thought of the rust. He thought of the cold. "Okay," he said. Virelia stopped. "Okay? Just okay?" "My terms," Cal said, holding up a finger. "First, the bed. You promised. I want to see it. Done. Second, food. Real food, not that synthesized protein paste they serve in the hubs. I want meat. I want vegetables. I want something that bleeds when you cut it. My personal chefs, done. And third, credits. Enough to get my ship, the Rust Bucket, a new FTL core, a Mark IV core, not a rebuilt one. Virelia looked almost relieved. He was not scared. He was bartering. You will have enough credits to buy a new ship, she said. If you can do this. If you can be convincing. Oh, I can be convincing, Cal said, a slow, roguish smile spreading across his face. But we need a story. They spent the next hour rehearsing. The official story. They had met at the Ural Nebula races. Cal was a freelance cargo specialist with a reputation for high risk, high reward runs. Virelia, slumming it under a glamour, had been captivated by his rugged earther charisma. Rugged earther charisma, Cal asked, practicing his half-smile in the mirror of the suite. The suite. It was bigger than his entire hangar. The bed was the size of a small spacecraft, piled high with pillows that looked like clouds. The sheets were, as promised, absurdly soft. You were charismatic, Virelia said, annoyed. You were reckless. I was intrigued. We have been meeting in secret for 3 months. 3 months. Got it. So I should know how you take your coffee. I drink Sarai tea. Hot. No sweetener. Right. Disgusting. I will remember that. A chime sounded. A synthesized voice announced, The delegation is arriving at the Velithos Grand Concourse. Virelia tensed. She was in a deep violet diplomatic robe that shimmered like liquid starlight. She was every inch the princess, and she was terrified. Cal, she said, her voice small. I know, he said, adjusting the high, stiff collar of the formal wear they had given him. It was awful, like being strangled by brushed metal. Just act like you are slumming it, princess. She looked at him, surprised. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. The doors to the concourse opened. The light was blinding. Thousands of flash drones, media bots, and floating sensors filled the air. The sound was a roar, the voices of 100 different species chanting her name, and another name. Senex! Senex! Virelia! They were expecting a confrontation. They were expecting the marriage announcement. Virelia's hand found his. It was freezing cold. She took a step out, and the crowd surged. Lord Senex was there, across the concourse, a tall, imposing figure with eyes like chips of ice. He was smiling. A victor's smile. Virelia faltered. Her breath hitched. Cal saw the panic in her eyes. He saw Senex's smile. Okay. New plan, he whispered in her ear, his voice low and rough. Forget the races. We met when I saved you from a bar fight with 3 Zaloshian miners. You liked my swagger. She looked at him, confused. What? This guy. Cal nodded toward Senex. He thinks he owns you. The council thinks they own you. You need to show them you are not for sale. How? She whispered. The roar of the crowd washing over them. Stop acting like a princess. Act like the girl who falls for the dangerous guy from the wrong side of the tracks. He stepped in front of her, shielding her from the flashes for a second. He looked her right in the eye, not as a princess, but as a woman. Trust me? He asked. She searched his face. He was not a noble. He was not military. He was just an earther. He was just Cal. She nodded. Good, he said. He took her hand, not gently but possessively, and pulled her to his side. He turned to face the media. Virelia understood. She wrapped her arm around his and leaned her head against his shoulder. A gesture of shocking, public intimacy. The crowd gasped. The chanting stopped. Lord Senex's smile vanished. And then, right there, in front of the entire galaxy. Virelia of House Sarai stood on her toes, grabbed the stiff metallic lapels of Cal Becker's borrowed suit, pulled his face down to hers, and kissed him. It was not a diplomatic peck. It was a claim. It was a fire. It was a desperate, all-consuming kiss that tasted like Sarai tea and ozone. Cal's brain shut down. His 38 years of smuggling, of running, of sleeping on cold cots. None of it had prepared him for this. He was supposed to be acting. This did not feel like acting. There was heat. A raw, undeniable spark that zipped from his lips straight down his spine and settled low in his gut. His hands, acting on an instinct older than spaceflight, found her waist and pulled her closer. The concourse exploded. The flash drones went white-hot. She finally pulled back, her violet eyes wide and dark, her lips slightly swollen. She was breathing hard. Oh, Cal thought, his own lungs burning. This is the problem. This was not about the bed, not anymore. Later, at the gala, Cal felt every inch the fraud. The grand hall was a sea of aliens, crystalline beings who chimed when they moved. Floating jellyfish like creatures that pulsed with soft light, and stern Zelotian nobles who looked like they were carved from granite. And Cal, in his ridiculous high-collared suit, felt like a packaged-up synthetic meal. Virelia was in her element. She drifted through the crowd, a word here, a nod there, a queen navigating her court. Cal was her shadow, the confusing, rough-edged human attached to her side. He grabbed a flute of bubbling liquid from a passing drone. It was blue and smoked. He took a sip. "Tastes like batteries," he muttered. A 7-foot-tall, insectoid noble next to him turned its multifaceted eyes. "The voltage is a bit low, is it not?" the creature chittered. Cal grinned. "Exactly. I prefer something with a bit more of a charge." The noble laughed, a series of sharp, clicking sounds. Cal relaxed. Okay. He could not be regal. He could not be noble. But he could be the scoundrel from Earth. He started talking. He told a cleaned-up version of the Zelotian bar fight. He told a story about navigating a freighter through an asteroid field on nothing but thrusters and a prayer. He did not talk about politics. He did not talk about money. He talked about life, his swagger, the rugged earther charisma they had joked about, returned. He was not a prince. He was the court jester, the pirate, the unexpected element, and the nobles, bored with centuries of protocol, started to gather. They were laughing. Across the room, Virelia was watching. She had been observing him, a small, worried frown on her face. But now, seeing him hold court with some of the most powerful and stoic beings in the galaxy, the frown was gone. He caught her eye. He raised his glass of battery fluid in a toast. Virelia did not smile. Not quite. But the corner of her mouth twitched. She tilted her head, her gaze analytical, sharp. She was amused. And, Cal realized, she was intrigued. He had her attention. And, he realized with a sinking feeling, he had the attention of everyone else in the room, including Lord Senex, who was watching him from the shadows with an expression that was not intrigued at all. It was the look of a shark that had just seen a meal it did not expect, and was deciding exactly how to tear it apart. The weekend, it turned out, was a series of lifetimes. The first day on Velithos was a blur of calculated performances. The kiss in the concourse had done its job. It had shattered the narrative. The news feeds were not talking about an alliance with Lord Senex. They were talking about the Terran scandal. Cal was no longer a person. He was a headline. They moved from gala to negotiation, from diplomatic breakfast to midnight conclave. Cal was a living prop, and the scrutiny was a physical weight. He learned the different shades of contempt, the dismissive glances from the Andromedan collective. who looked at him like a fascinating, slightly too advanced primate. The cold, analytical stares from the Xylotian nobles, who saw him as a bug. And then there was Senex. Senex did not look at Cal with contempt. He looked at him with patience. The patience of a predator that knows the cage door will eventually be opened. Cal, for his part, played the role. He was the rugged, unpolished earther. He kept his hands on the small of Virelia's back. He laughed a little too loud. He made sure to drink the blue battery acid, claiming it had a kick. But he was watching, and he was listening. The gig was wrong. He felt it in his bones, the same way he used to feel a customs patrol ship powering up its scanners just outside of jump range. This was not just about appearances. It was the tests. They were subtle. During a trade policy meeting, a Sarai council member, a stern woman with skin like polished stone, addressed him directly. "You are a cargo specialist, Mr. Becker, a pilot, a Terran. What is your opinion on the revised tariffs in the Outer Rim?" Virelia tensed. Cal had not been briefed on tariffs. Cal leaned back, lacing his fingers behind his head in a gesture of pure, unadulterated disrespect. "Taxes are like engines, counselor. You make them too complicated, they overheat and stall. You make them too simple, they do not get you off the ground. All I know is the more tariffs you add, the more pilots like me make a living proving they do not exist." The counselor's eyes narrowed, but the Xylotian ambassador chittered in amusement. Virelia's hand, resting on his knee under the table, squeezed. It might have been a thank you or a shut up. He could not tell. The second test was less subtle. A towering aide to Lord Senex, a man built like a cargo loader, accidentally stumbled, spilling a tray of caustic, steaming hot Kalian brandy. He aimed it right at Virelia. Cal did not think. He moved, putting his body between them. The brandy hit his rented suit, sizzling. The fabric, some advanced adaptive weave, smoked and tried to seal the wound, but the heat was intense. It seared through to his skin. He did not flinch. "My apologies," the aide said, his voice a low rumble, entirely unapologetic. Cal just smiled. It was the smile he reserved for locked-down hangar bays and men with blasters. "No harm done," he said, the smell of burnt fabric stinging his nose. "But you are paying for the suit." He turned his back on the man before he could respond. He offered his arm to Virelia. "Princess?" As they walked away, he saw Senex watching. The predator was still patient, but it was not smiling. This was more than a test. It was bait. They were trying to provoke him, to make him show his teeth, to make him look unstable and violent. They wanted him to be the savage earther, the animal that would make Virelia's rebellion look like a fatal mistake. They walked in silence back toward their suite. The summit palace was a monument to old power, all soaring arches and holographic waterfalls. It was beautiful, and it felt as cold and empty as deep space. "He tried to burn you," Cal said, his voice flat. "He was aiming for me," Virelia corrected, her voice just as cold. "It does not matter. This is not the gig. Princess, you hired a fake boyfriend. You did not hire a bodyguard for an assassination attempt." Virelia stopped in a wide, empty corridor. A kilometer-long window looked out onto the fleets, the thousands of ships hanging in the black like diamonds on velvet. "You are right," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It is not." She looked up and down the corridor. They were alone, save for the quiet hum of the life support. "I have not been entirely honest with you, Cal. That is the understatement of the weekend." She stepped closer to the window. "My cousin, Lyra. She was heir to the House of Joran, just as old as mine, just as traditional." Virelia traced the outline of a distant dreadnought on the glass. Last year, at the Andromedan Conclave, a similar event, a similar pressure. The council wanted her bonded to a Zolocian warlord to secure a mining rights treaty. She refused. She was strong-willed. She told them she would choose her own path. Cal watched her reflection in the glass. The regal princess was gone. The woman who remained looked exhausted. She died, Virelia said, in her suite, the night before the final treaty signing. The official report said it was a sudden, violent allergic reaction to a Pollux 9 orchid, a floral toxin. And it was not. Lyra grew up on Pollux 9. She used to weave the orchids into her hair. She was immune. Virelia turned to face him, her violet eyes burning. She was poisoned. Cal. Murdered. And her scandalous refusal was buried with her. The treaty was signed by her younger brother a month later. Senex, Cal said. It was not a question. He was there, at the conclave, offering his support to the House of Joran. He sent 1,000 white orchids to her funeral. He benefits the most from my compliance. If I am gone, the council hands him my throne, my fleets, and the element rights to 3 systems. Cal finally understood. He was not a shield. He was a target. He was a bright, flashing fire here sign, designed to draw out the assassin. She was using him. But she was also terrified. You think he will try it here? Cal said. I think he is already trying. That brandy was not a test. It was a range finder. He wants to know who you are. What will you do? She looked at the smoking, ruined fabric of his suit. And now he knows. You will get in the way. Cal felt the cold anger, the old familiar rush from his smuggling days. So what is the plan, princess? You just wait in your suite until a flower shows up? The plan, she said, is to survive the weekend. And I need you to keep being the last person they expect. They reached the suite. The 2 obsidian-armored guards at the door snapped to attention, their pulse lances humming. The door recognized Virelia's biosignature and hissed open. The suite was a golden cage, vast, opulent, and utterly sterile. The bed, the one he had joked about, was in the center of the main room, a monument of silks and carved wood. The door shut behind them. They were alone. Virelia seemed to deflate. She walked to the massive viewport, a mirror of the one in the hall, and wrapped her arms around herself. Cal looked at the bed, then he looked at the couch. The couch was a decadent swirl of velvet, easily large enough for a man to sleep on. It was 1,000 times more comfortable than his cot. He shrugged off the ruined suit jacket and tossed it onto a chair. I am taking the couch, he said. Virelia turned, surprised. What? But the bed. You promised me a real bed, princess. You did not promise me your bed. Besides, we have to keep up appearances. What appearances? We are in the room. The door is locked. The appearance that I am not a complete animal, Cal said. He sat on the couch, testing the springs. They did not groan. You are in a cage, Virelia. I am not going to another bar. She stared at him. The silence stretched, filled only by the distant hum of the station. You call me Virelia, she said softly. It is your name, is it not? He kicked off his boots. You are not a princess here. You are just the woman who hired me to keep her from being poisoned by an orchid. She let out a breath, a shaky, half laugh, half sob. They are not going to use an orchid. It was 2 last year. She sat on the edge of the enormous bed, her posture still perfect, her hands clasped. She looked like a prisoner on her own throne. Cal leaned back, lacing his hands behind his head. He looked out the viewport. The stars were cold. Earth, he said. is a lot like that couch. What? Looks good, comfortable. But it is not the main event. It is the place everyone forgets about until they need to sit down. He paused. From here, Earth is just a rumor, a failed experiment, the old, rusted-out homeworld. Why did you leave? She asked, her voice quiet, curious. Why does anyone leave a cage? He countered. I was a pilot, a good one. But on Earth, you are just an Earther. You fly where they tell you. You haul what they give you. You die in debt. I wanted to see the black. I wanted to be the one holding the stick. You were a smuggler. I was a freelance cargo specialist, he corrected. I specialized in cargo that other people did not want moved. Medical supplies to quarantined worlds. Data cores to resistant cells. Sometimes, Xylosian brandy to dry systems. A man has to eat. You ran, she whispered. We are all running from something. Princess, you are running from Senex. I am running from a past that smells like old engine oil and failure. The only difference is, my cage was real. Rust and iron. Yours. He motioned to the suite. Yours is made of gold, but it is still a cage, is it not? Virelia looked at her hands. I have never chosen a meal, she said, her voice so low he barely heard it. Not once in my life. I have never worn a piece of clothing that was not selected by a committee. I have never flown a ship. I have never been alone. You are surrounded by people, Cal said. I am surrounded by guards and counselors and spies, she corrected. But I am alone. You are the first person in 10 years who has told me no. You are the first person who I have talked to. He saw it then. The woman under the princess. The desperate, lonely, 24-year-old who was smarter than everyone in the room and trapped by 1,000 years of tradition. He had been hired to be a shield, but what she needed was a key. Get some sleep, Virelia, he said, his voice softer than he intended. Tomorrow. We have to go out there and be brilliant again. And you cannot be brilliant if you are tired. She nodded, but did not move. He turned his back, giving her the illusion of privacy, and stared out at the cold, beautiful stars. The next day, the pressure was suffocating. It was the final session of the summit. Lord Senex was at the main podium, delivering a speech about dynastic unity and shared strength. His ice-blue eyes were fixed on Virelia the entire time. It was a proposal, delivered as a threat. When he finished, the media drones swarmed them. Princess Virelia, Lord Senex speaks of unity. Will you accept his offer of alliance? Princess, is it true you have abandoned your duty as a Terran pilot? Senex himself approached, pushing through the media. He was a mountain in a silk suit. He smiled, a predator's grimace. Princess, he said, his voice a smooth baritone that scraped Cal's nerves. A powerful speech, did you not think? Unity. It is the only thing that ensures survival. He looked at Cal. And her guest. It is wonderful to see you enjoying the local color. Virelia was steel. She put her hand on Cal's chest, a public, possessive claim. Lord Senex, my bonded Cal Becker. He finds the local color a bit predatory. Senex's smile widened. He was enjoying this. A Terran. How bold. Tell me, Mr. Becker, he said, the entire concourse going silent. What does a Terran offer a dynasty that has ruled for 1,000 years? This was it, the ultimate test. The world was watching. Cal felt Virelia's hand tremble. He covered it with his own. He looked at the mountain man, at the smug, assured, murdering aristocrat. He thought of the cage. He thought of her cousin. Honesty, Cal said, his voice quiet. but it carried. And I am a hell of a pilot. He winked at Varelia. She broke. The tension, the fear, the exhaustion. It shattered. She laughed. A real, bright, genuine laugh that echoed in the silent concourse. Senex's face froze. His eyes went from ice to a burning, cold vacuum. He had lost in front of the entire galaxy. The girl he was trying to cage had just laughed at him. To seal it. To drive the blade home. Varelia grabbed Cal's suit and kissed him. It was a staged kiss. The public performance. But it was not really. After the honesty of last night, after the shared danger, this kiss was a thank you. It was an I see you. It was an us against them. When she pulled away, the media drones were a wall of white light. They retreated, pushing through the crowd, back to the suite. The adrenaline was so high Cal could taste it, metallic, like an old coin. The door hissed shut. They were alone. The alarms were set. The guards were outside. They just stood in the middle of the room, breathing. The silence was deafening. A hell of a pilot? Varelia said, her voice shaky. She was pulling off the diamond clasps at her wrists. You laughed, Cal said, shrugging out of his jacket. It worked. It worked, she agreed. She met his gaze. The air in the room was electric, tight. The public performance was over, but the energy remained. It was simmering. That was, he started. That was not just for the cameras, what you did. That laugh. We are good actors, Cal, she whispered. But she did not move away. She was closer than she needed to be. Are we? He asked, his voice rough. He saw her at that moment. Not the princess, not the headline, just Varelia. The woman in the golden cage, the woman who wanted to laugh. He did not know who moved first. It did not matter. This kiss was not a performance. It was not a claim. It was a collision. It was the release of every bit of tension, every shared secret, every unspoken fear. It was not the fire of the first kiss. It was the heat of a star going nova. His hands went to her face, his thumbs tracing the line of her jaw. Her hands gripped the front of his shirt, pulling him closer, as if she was afraid he would vanish. It was slow and desperate and real. It was everything they had not been allowed to say. A sound, a deafening, tearing shriek. It was not the door. It was the wall. Crash hiss. The reinforced duraplast of the viewport wall exploded inward. Not a bomb. It was cut. 3 precise white-hot lines. 2 figures dropped into the room. They were not human. They were not Sarai. They were thin, fast, and wrapped in midnight black armor that seemed to drink the light. They carried energy blades, shimmering, watery weapons that hissed in the air. Varelia screamed. Cal did not have time to think. He shoved her, hard. Get down! He was moving backward, pulling her, but the first assassin was already on him. It moved with an insectoid grace, blade high, aiming for his neck. Cal's left hand snapped up. His wrist clicked, loud. The skin on his forearm peeled back. A tri-barrel. Metallic assembly slid forward, locking into place over his knuckles. It was not a gun. It was part of him. An old, illegal military-grade implant. Thump, thump, thump. The gun fired kinetic flechettes, armor-piercing, silent, save for the mechanical discharge. The first assassin's chest plate, designed to stop lasers, did not stop solid projectiles. It shattered. The assassin looked down, confused, as black fluid poured from 3 neat holes. It collapsed. The second assassin paused, a fatal half-second hesitation. A human with a kinetic implant. Cal did not give it time to recover. He shoved Varelia behind the massive velvet couch. Stay there. He dropped into a combat crouch, using the bed as cover. The second assassin's blade sliced the air, shearing the antique couch in half. It missed Varelia by inches. Alarms blared. The suite was screaming. Heavy, armored fists were pounding on the door. The assassin leaped over the ruined couch. Blade aimed at Cal. Cal fired. Thump, thump. The first flechette hit the shoulder plate, sparking. The second hit the visored helmet. The blade clattered to the floor. The assassin fell. Limp. Silence. Heavy, ringing silence, save for the blaring alarm. The suite door burst open. A flood of obsidian-armored Sarai guards poured in, pulse lances hot and ready. They stopped. They saw the carnage. 2 dead assassins, a destroyed suite, a smoking wall. And Cal, his shirt torn, breathing hard, his left arm still extended, the implant hot and smoking, standing between the bodies and their princess. Virelia was rising from the wreckage of the couch, her eyes wide with terror, and fixed on Cal. The captain of the guard raised his lance. "Step away from the princess, Terran!" Cal let out a slow breath. He retracted the implant. The skin slid back, covering the metal, leaving only a faint, old scar. He raised his hands. "No!" Virelia's voice was a raw shout. She broke protocol. She ignored the guards. She ran. She ran to Cal. She grabbed the front of his torn shirt, her entire body shaking. This was not an act. This was not a performance. This was terror. She buried her face in his chest, her hands clinging to him. The captain of the guard froze, his lance half raised, confused. Virelia whispered, her voice a broken, desperate sound, meant only for him. "I am sorry, it's Cal. I am so sorry that you are in it now. It is real." The pain came first, a sharp chemical sting on his chest, where the Kalian brandy had burned him, then the deep, throbbing ache in his shoulder, where he had slammed it against the bulkhead. Cal Becker's eyes snapped open. He was not in the golden cage. He was in a med bay. The light was a sterile, humming blue. A diagnostic drone floated over his chest, sealing the burn with a layer of synthesized skin. His arm, his implant, was strapped to a diagnostic board, bristling with sensors. "Do not move, Mr. Becker," Virelia. She was not in a gown. She was standing in the corner, dressed in the same black silk-like flight suit she had worn when they first met. Her hair was pulled back. The princess was gone. This was a commander. Her face was a mask of cold fury. "Where are we?" Cal's voice was a rasp. "On my personal cruiser, the Shadow State. We left Velithos 40 minutes ago." "You just left?" "My suite was breached by armed assassins," she stated, as if reading a report. "My bonded partner was revealed to have an illegal kinetic implant. The summit was compromised. My council is in chaos. Yes, Mr. Becker, we just left." She was pacing. The medbay was small, but she used the space like a caged predator. "Where are the guards? The Obsidian guys?" "Handling the diplomatic fallout and answering questions about how 2 assassins breached a royal suite. I did not stay to hear the excuses." A new sound entered the low hum, a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated in Cal's teeth. A docking clamp. "We are here," she said. The comlink chimed. "Your Highness, the Silver Throne confirms docking. We await your transfer." Virelia hit the comm. "Proceed, and have the medical chief ready. My guest is injured." "Guest?" Cal tried to sit up. The straps held him. "I thought I was your bonded—" "You are," she said, not looking at him. "And you are a target, which means we are moving you somewhere the Council cannot reach." Somewhere he cannot reach. The medbay doors opened, not to a hospital corridor, but to a vast, echoing hangar. This was the warship he had seen when they first arrived. This was the blade in the dark. "Welcome to the Silver Throne." "Cal," Virelia said, as medical drones released his restraints. "My family's flagship, my true home." She was right. This was not a palace. It was a fortress. The corridors were gunmetal gray, polished but functional. The air smelled of ozone and recycled energy. The guards here were not ceremonial. They were soldiers, armored in silver and black, their faces hidden behind reflective visors. They moved with a lethal economy. Virelia led him to her private quarters. They were not suits. They were Spartan, a bed, a console, and a viewport that showed 1,000 stars. She stood in front of the console, her back to him. It was Senex, she said. It was not a guess. The assassins, Cal said, rubbing his wrist where the sensors had been. They were not Sarai, not human. Kython, she said, her voice dripping with venom. A mercenary race from the dust belts, silent, expensive, and utterly loyal to their contract. Senex's signature. He uses them for his dirtiest work. She turned, her violet eyes locking on his. He is not just an opportunist. Cal, he is planning a coup. My council is old. They are weak. They are afraid of losing our position, of our dynasty fading. Senex promises them strength. He promises them a new, aggressive future. But he cannot have it while I am the heir. Cal leaned against the bulkhead. The adrenaline was gone. He was just tired. And he was in way over his head. A coup, Cal repeated. Assassins. Warships. Princess. This is not a weekend gig. This is not a fake relationship. This is a revolution. And I am a mechanic from a backwater planet. I am not the guy you hire for this. I am the guy you hire to fix a leaking plasma conduit. He pushed off the wall. I want out. Your cruiser. That little one. The shadow state. Give it to me. I will fly it back to Joran 3. I will forget your face. I will forget your name. The credits. The bed you can keep them. He meant it. Every word. This was not his fight. He had survived this long by knowing when to run. It was time to run. He started for the door. No. Her voice was not a command when it was a plea. He stopped. You cannot go, she said, her voice shaking, the commander's mask cracking. Watch me. Cal, please. She stepped in front of him, blocking his path. She was close. He could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the faint dark circles. You are right. You are not a soldier. You are not a noble. You are not a revolutionary. She took a shaky breath. You are a mechanic. You are a smuggler from Earth. And you are the only person who has not lied to me in 5 years. He stared at her. My council lies to protect tradition, she whispered, her hands clenching into fists. My guards lie to protect my serenity. My mother lies to protect the dynasty. Senex lies to take it. Everyone is playing a game. Everyone has an angle. Everyone. But you. She looked at his chest, at the fresh pink synth skin. You told me you wanted a bed. You told me you wanted food. You told me you wanted a new core. You did not lie. You did not posture. You told the truth. She looked up, meeting his gaze, and he saw the raw, terrifying loneliness of the woman in the golden cage. I am surrounded, she said, by 1,000 people, and I am completely, utterly alone. Until you called me by my name. You took the couch. She reached out, her fingers tentatively touching the scar on his wrist, the one that covered his implant. You did not run when the brandy hit. You did not run when the blades came out. Do not run now, please. I am not asking a bodyguard to stay. I am asking a friend. I am asking the one person I trust. Cal looked down at her. He thought of the cold cot. He thought of the years of running. He thought of the vast, empty black. He had been alone, too. He let out a very long, very slow breath. This, he said, tapping his implant scar, is illegal. They find this. They space me. No trial. I know, she said, and I am still not a soldier. I know. And if I stay, he said, his voice dropping, I am not staying as a friend. I am not staying to sleep on the couch. The air in the room became very, very thin. The hum of the warship's engines was the only sound in the universe. Virelia did not move. She did not blink. Her gaze held his. I am not asking you to, she whispered. His resolve, his lifetime of running, evaporated. It was gone. He did not kiss her like he had in the concourse. He did not kiss her like he had in the suite. This was not a performance. This was not a collision. This was a surrender. His hand came up, slow, and cupped her cheek. She was real. She was warm. She leaned into his touch, her eyes closing, a single tear tracing a silver path down her pearlescent skin. He wiped it away with his thumb. No more lies, princess, he murmured. No more lies, Cal. She breathed. He kissed her. And the silence of the warship, the cold of deep space, the plots of nobles and the threat of assassins, it all dissolved. There was only this. It was raw. It was desperate. It was two lonely people, two survivors from different cages, clinging to each other in the dark. His hands were not gentle. They mapped the lines of her back, pulling her closer, as if he could absorb her into himself, as if he could hide her from Senex and the entire galaxy. Her hands were in his hair, gripping, her nails scratching his scalp. This was not the polite touch of a princess. This was the grasp of a drowning woman. They stumbled, their lips never parting, and hit the Spartan bed. It was not the bed of silk he had been promised, but it was real. This was not a seduction. It was a confession. It was an admission that the charade was over. The act had become the truth. He pulled back, just enough to see her face in the starlight. Her eyes were dark, her lips swollen, her breath coming in fast. Shallow gasps. She was beautiful, but more than that, she was free. In this one stolen moment, she was not the heir. She was not a political tool. She was just Virelia. Cal, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I am here, he said. And he was? He was not on Joran 3. He was not in the past. He was here. They came together with an emotional release that was as powerful as a jump drive engaging. It was the passion of the near miss, the intimacy of a shared secret. It was the end of the weekend, and the beginning of something terrifying. Later, in the quiet, as the starlight from the viewport painted silver stripes across the gunmetal gray walls, they lay tangled together. Her head was on his chest, right over the new skin. He could feel her breathing. She was asleep, a real deep sleep, probably the first she had had in years. He watched the stars. He was a fool, a dead man. He was an earther mechanic who had just made love to the most powerful heir in the galaxy. He had painted a target on his back so large it could be seen from orbit. Senex would not just kill him. He would erase him. He did not care. He felt Virelia stir. She lifted her head, her violet eyes soft in the dim light. She looked at him, really looked at him, and a small, slow smile touched her lips. You know, she whispered, tracing the faint scar on his wrist. You never did get that real bed, the one with the silk sheets. This one is fine, he said, his voice rough. I will have it upgraded, she murmured, settling back down. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, her voice so soft he almost missed it. You are not just for the weekend anymore, Cal. He closed his eyes. He knew. The days that followed were a strange, suspended reality. The Silver Throne was a ghost ship, It drifted in a dark sector, its stealth drives engaged, invisible to the galaxy. And their romance grew. It was not a thing of grand gestures, it was a thing of small, stolen moments. It was a slow smile. She would be in a command briefing, surrounded by armored soldiers, listening to reports of Senex's fleet movements. He would be standing in the back, the out-of-place civilian. She would catch his eye, and the corner of her mouth would twitch. A secret. It was a quiet moment. He found the engine room. It was vast, a cathedral of pulsing energy cores. The engineers, at first, were suspicious of the Terran, until a power conduit, an old Mark II, began to fluctuate. The engineers were about to replace it. "Do not," Cal said, walking onto their bridge. "You are overloading the intake. The seals are Sarai, but the regulator is a core world standard. You have to buffer it." He grabbed a tool, rerouted a secondary power line, and the conduit stabilized. The chief engineer, a woman with skin like scarred bark, just stared at him. Virelia found him there, his hands black with conduit grease, happier than she had ever seen him. "You are a menace, Mr. Becker," she said, leaning against the railing, her formal commander's voice on, but her eyes smiling. "You are supposed to be resting, not fraternizing with my engines." "Engines do not lie, princess," he said, grinning. It was mutual teasing. It was a vulnerable confession. One night, they sat by the viewport, sharing a ration pack. Real food, as he had requested. It was some kind of roasted fowl. It was delicious. "My father," Cal said, "used to say that the only honest thing in the universe was a well-built engine. It either works, or it does not. No politics." "Mine," Virelia said, "used to say that a princess is a symbol, that I was not a person. I was a promise of stability. He did not live to see how unstable it would get." She told him about her mother, the queen, a woman trapped in tradition, a prisoner of her own court, just as Virelia was. He told her about his first smuggling run, about the terror and the freedom of punching through a Xylotian blockade with a cargo of life-saving medicine. They were two people from two different universes, and in the dark, they had found a common language. One morning, Cal was alone, running a diagnostic on his implant, his old battered data slate, the one he had kept hidden in his boot, chimed. It was a coded message, an old frequency, one he had not used in years. He decrypted it. The message was simple. "Senex, double what she is paying. Deliver her to him at the coronation. Your ship, clear title, full FTL core, and a pardon for all cargo violations." Double pay, his ship, a clean slate, everything he had ever wanted. He looked at the message for a long, long time. He thought of Joran 3. He thought of the cold. He thought of freedom. He deleted it. He did not tell her. But he knew he could not just sit. He was a mechanic. He fixed things. And this was broken. He began to investigate. Not as a noble, as a smuggler. He did not ask questions. He found answers. He used the ship's comm system. But he did not use the royal channels. He used the encrypted backdoor frequencies the crew used to trade contraband media. He sliced into the Valithos diplomatic logs. He cross-referenced shipping manifests. He looked for Senex. He did not find poison. He found something worse. Money. Massive, untraceable transfers. From shell corporations owned by Senex into the private accounts of half of Virelia's council. They were not just weak, they were bought. Senex was not just planning a coup, he was buying one. But why the marriage? Why the pretense? He dug deeper. He found the security schedules for the coronation of stars. It was an ancient High Sarai ceremony. The day the heir formally accepts her divine mandate, a public holiday, and he found the order. An unmarked ship, a Kythan ship. Its docking time was approved by 2 of the bribed counselors. Its flight plan is right over the public plaza. It clicked. The brandy, the assassins in the suite. That was not the main event. That was just to clear the board, to get Cal, the unpredictable element, out of the way. The forced marriage was a lie. It was a distraction. Senex did not want to marry her. He wanted to martyr her, assassinate her, in public at her own coronation. Blame it on Terran radicals or Outer Rim terrorists. The bought and paid for council would panic, demand stability. And Lord Senex, the grieving ally, would be there to provide it. He would take her throne, not by marriage, but by default. Cal's blood ran cold. He ran from the comm center. He slammed into her quarters. She was there, reviewing star charts. Virelia. She looked up, startled by the raw fear in his voice. Cal, what is it? The coronation, he said, breathing hard. You cannot go. It is a trap. What are you talking about? The coronation is not for 3 weeks. We are in stealth. We are safe. He is not trying to marry you. Virelia, he is trying to bury you. He laid it out. The bribes, the council, the Kythan ship, the public assassination. He watched her face as he spoke. He watched the color drain. He watched the princess become a commander. He watched the commander become a target. When he was finished, she did not panic. She did not cry. She stood up. She walked to the viewport. She was silent for a full minute. I have to go, she said. Cal stared. What? Did you not hear a word I said? It is a firing squad, and you are walking into the plaza. I heard you, she said, her voice a flat, cold sheet of ice. If I run, if I hide, he wins. He will say I am a coward, that I abandoned my people. The council will declare me unfit. He will take the throne anyway. The outcome is the same. The outcome is not the same, Cal shouted, stalking toward her. The outcome is you are alive. We can take the throne. We can run. We can go to the Outer Rim. We can build a fleet. We can fight from there. We can expose him. And what of my people? She turned on him, her eyes blazing. What happens to Sarai while I am building a fleet? Senex will gut my words. He will strip mine of my systems. A princess does not run. Cal, she does not hide. A dead princess does not lead, he yelled. It is my duty. To hell with your duty. He grabbed her arms. He was shaking. To hell with your people and your throne and your dynasty, if the price is you. Survival. Virelia, that is the only thing that matters. You and me. Surviving. She stared at him, her face a mask of anguish. She was trapped, not by Senex, not by the council, by her own sense of honor. You do not understand, she whispered. You are an earther. You think of yourself. I have to think of everyone. I am thinking of everyone, he said, his voice dropping, his grip on her arm softening. I am thinking of the woman who was afraid in the concourse. I am thinking of the woman who laughed at a stuffy noble. I am thinking of the woman who whispered my name in the dark. That is the woman I am saving. The princess can save herself. He let go of her. The argument hung in the air, a vast cold canyon between them. I am going, she said, her voice resolute. I will not run. Then I am not running either, he said, his voice grim. But we are not doing it your way. We are not doing it the noble way. We are doing it my way, the earther way. We are going to cheat. The cheating began not with a bang, but with a performance. They returned to the Velithos station, not to the palace, but to the public concourse, the grand concourse where they had first arrived. It was Cal's idea. You cannot be a ghost, he had argued. Ghosts get forgotten. We need to be a scandal again, and then we need to be a tragedy. They walked out of the transport tube, not as a commander and her consort, but as a couple. They were holding hands. The media drones, still buzzing from the assassination attempt, swarmed them in a microsecond. "Princess, an official statement. Is the Terran being held for the attack?" They walked, saying nothing, projecting an image of unified defiance. They sat at a small, open-air cafe, a place so public it was its own form of armor. They ordered Sarai tea, and then, as planned, they began to fight. It started low. Cal leaned in, his voice a strained whisper. "This is insane, Virelia. I am a target. You are a target. We are sitting in a damn fishbowl." "It is my home." "Cal," she said, her voice tight, playing her part. "This is my duty. You said you understood. I understood a weekend gig." His voice rose, just enough. A media drone drifted closer. "I did not sign up for a revolution. I did not sign up to get shot at by whatever those things were." "This is not a gig," she hissed, the royal hauteur returning. "This is my life, a life you seem to find so inconvenient." "Inconvenient?" Cal slammed his hand on the table. The teacups rattled. The concourse went quiet. "You call two assassins inconvenient? You call a homicidal maniac like Senex inconvenient? You are deluded." "And you are a coward," she shot back, standing up. Her face was pale, a mask of fury and betrayal. It was a brilliant performance, because it was not entirely a performance. She was channeling every ounce of her fear. "You are just like all the rest, a smuggler running when it gets hard." "You are damn right I am running." Cal stood, shoving his chair back. It crashed to the floor. "This is your cage, princess, not mine. I am done. I am out. Find another shield." He turned. He did not look back. He stormed off, pushing through the stunned media drones, his face a mask of rage. He disappeared into the crowds of the lower-level transport hub, the galaxy, and more importantly, Senex's spies saw the Terran pilot abandon the princess. The rebellious fling was over. The human had cracked under the pressure. Virelia, left alone at the table, sank back into her chair. She put her head in her hands, her shoulders shaking in a perfect public display of heartbreak. A full 30 minutes later, she rose, composed, and walked to her transport, the image of a woman abandoned, vulnerable, and alone. Cal did not go to the transport hub. He ducked into a maintenance shaft, his rage evaporating the second the door hissed shut. He was in the shadows. He was now a ghost, and the board was set, while the galaxy's news feeds replayed their breakup. Virelia made her move. She took her stealth cruiser, the Shadow State, not to the Silver Throne, but to the Sarai system itself, to the ancestral homeworld, a planet of ice, crystal, and ancient cold palaces. She bypassed the council. She went straight to the top, to the Queen. Queen Sareth's chambers were not warm. They were a cavern of polished glacial blue stone, the walls emitting a faint cold light. The Queen herself was a mirror of the room. She was older than Virelia, her skin the same pearlescent luster, her violet eyes clouded with the weight of centuries-old alliances. She did not rise when Virelia entered. "Mother," Virelia knelt. "You have been busy, child." The Queen's voice was like chimes of ice. "You have made a spectacle of your duty. You have embarrassed this house, and now your Terran pet has, predictably, abandoned you." "Senex tried to kill me," Virelia said, her voice flat. "Twice. He sent Kythan mercenaries to my suite on Velithos." The Queen did not react. An accusation unproven. "His aide tried to burn me with Kalian brandy, a Xylotian custom, a sign of robust testing. You are unblemished. His flagship, the Iron Hand, was docked at Velithos, a fortress of arrogance. The plan was simple. Get in, get the data, get out. The execution was insane. Cal was not alone. He had called in a marker. His pirate contact was a woman named Ryla, an Andromedan with skin like a swirling nebula and 4 arms, 2 of which were cybernetic. She owed Cal for the time he had smuggled medicine to her colony during the Red Plague. She did not provide a ship. She provided a service. She ran a cargo disposal route, which meant she had clearance to pick up waste shipments from every capital ship in the sector, including the Iron Hand. Cal hid in a sealed, shielded waste container for 6 hours, breathing recycled air. He was not, however, alone in the container. With him was Unit 734, or SEV. SEV was a sarcasm protocol loaded into the chassis of a battered astromech droid. Cal had won against him in a card game on Joran 3. I trust the accommodations are to your liking. Sev's synthesized voice buzzed inside the container. I believe the faint aroma of reprocessed starship effluent is considered a delicacy in some of the lesser system. Shut up, Sev, Cal muttered, checking his data slicer. Of course, Master. Stifling my creative expression is, after all, your primary function. Secondary, perhaps, to getting us both vaporized inside a garbage chute. Ryla's ship clamped onto the Iron Hand. The airlock hissed. The container cycled through. They were inside. Ryla, as promised, accidentally dropped their container near a maintenance junction before proceeding to the actual garbage bay. Cal and Sev slipped out. The maintenance corridors of Senex's ship were dark, hot, and smelled of ozone. Now the data core, Cal whispered. Ah, yes. The central, most heavily guarded and undoubtedly alarmed part of the entire warship. Sev buzzed. A delightful low-stress objective. Shall I simply knock? You are going to give me a back door, Cal said, locating the primary data conduit. I need a blind spot. 10 minutes. That is all I need. 10 minutes. An eternity. More than enough time for 1,000 heavily armed guards to find us. I shall create a diversion, a massive cascading system failure in the waste reclamation sector. The smell should be monumental. They will be distracted. Do it. Sev plugged his interface arm into the conduit. Diverting now. Oh dear. That is going to stain the upholstery. Alarms began to chime, but they were distant, on the lower decks. A flurry of confused comm chatter erupted. You have 8 minutes, Sev said. The core security station is 3 levels up. Cal moved. He ran, using the skills he had learned in a lifetime of avoiding notice. He moved through the ship like a shadow, a rat in the walls of a palace. He reached the data core. It was a cathedral of light, a spinning holographic sphere of pure information. And it was, as Sev had predicted, guarded. 2 Xylotian mercenaries. Cal did not hesitate. His implant was silent. Thump, 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 thump. The guards dropped, their kinetic shields useless against the flechettes. He slammed his data slicer onto the console. Sev, I am in. Open it. Patience, Master. These firewalls are archaic, brutish. It is like they were designed by a Xylotian. Oh, wait. They were... The holographic sphere shimmered. A gap opened. I am in, Cal said. The data streams flooding his slicer. He was not looking for random files. He was looking for the payment transfers. The ones to the Council. He found them. He found the Kython mercenary contracts. He found the audio logs. Senex, giving orders. Senex, describing the plan to martyr Virelia. And he found something else. Sev, what is this? This is not a coup plan. It appears, Master, Sev's voice was grim, to be a revised treaty, pre-signed by 3 of the council members. It cedes full control of the Sarai system's element rights to the House of Senex. In the event of the princess's tragic demise and the subsequent stabilization period led by him, "He is not just staging a coup," Cal whispered, the data storage crystal in his hand turning warm. "He is staging a hostile takeover. He has already murdered her on paper." "He has also," Sev said, a new urgency in his voice. "Advance the timeline. My apologies. I am intercepting a new, high-priority comm signal from this flagship. To the Sarai Palace. The order is, the Terran is gone. The Queen is inert. Proceed immediately. Secure the asset." Cal's blood froze. "Secure the asset? What does that mean? Sev, where is Virelia?" "She is at a council session. Master, in the High Chamber, on the Sarai homeworld, right now." "We are too late," Cal breathed. "Not precisely," Sev buzzed. "It appears the council session is unruly." The comm chatter was chaotic, shouting, and then a single cold, Sarai voice. "It is done. The princess is indisposed. She will be ready for the bonding ceremony by sundown. Lord Senex's presence is requested. The mandate must be fulfilled." "Bonding ceremony?" Cal said, pulling his slicer. "He is not killing her. He is marrying her." "Now?" "A change of plans. Master, it seems your breakup was too convincing. Senex believes she is weak, heartbroken, and without allies. He is not just taking her throne, he is taking her, a living trophy, and he is drugging her to do it." Cal ran. He did not care about the guards. He did not care about stealth. He ran. He met Sev back at the disposal chute. "Get me Ryla, now!" They jettisoned themselves in the waste container. Ryla's ship snagged them, mid-void. "You smell awful, Cal," Ryla said over the comm, her forearms flying over the controls. "Sarai homeworld," Cal yelled, stripping off the outer layer of his suit. "Fastest you have ever flown, and call in that favor, the one from the ice mines of Krell." "Cal, that is a pirate den. You want me to call him?" "Just get me to the ice tunnels, Ryla, and get me the old pirate." The Sarai homeworld was a planet of crystal palaces built on ancient, churning glaciers. The palaces were for the nobles. The ice tunnels were the planet's maintenance shafts, its sewers, its forgotten history. Ryla's ship, a battered, ugly freighter, landed hard in a glacial crevasse far from the capital. Waiting for them was the old pirate. He was a human, ancient, with a face like a road map and a cybernetic eye that whirred. "Becker," he growled, "you look terrible." "Gant," Cal said, tossing him a data crystal. "That is the security layout for the tunnels under the High Palace. I need to get to the main chapel 5 hours ago." Gant looked at the schematic. "This is insane. This is the royal wedding of the century, and you are crashing it, with a trash droid." "I am a tactical unit," Sev corrected, rolling off the ramp. "Senex has her," Cal said, his voice flat. "He is drugging her into a forced bond. I am not letting it happen." Gant grinned, a horrible sight of metal teeth. "Drugging a princess? Forcing a bond? Oh, this is not just a crash. Boy, this is a rescue. This is the kind of work I like." The rescue was not elegant. It was brutal. Gud. Gant, and Sev led Cal through the ice tunnels. The tunnels were not empty. Senex had placed his own Xylotian mercenaries blocking the back door. The first blaster fight was in a cavern of glowing ice. Gant, using 2 heavy blasters, provided cover fire. "Go, go, go!" Cal and Sev moved up. Sev rolled into the open, projecting a hard light shield. "I would like to state for the record," he buzzed, as lasers splashed against the shield, "that this is definitively not in my programming. Adapt, Cal yelled. He fired his implant, the silent flechettes finding their mark in the dark. They reached a central junction, a gravity lift. They have cut the power, Gant said, looking up the dark shaft. No, Sev said, interfacing with the panel. They have not cut it. They have rerouted it. They are planning to overload the junction. They are collapsing the tunnels, Cal realized. A sound tactic, Sev noted. If we were not in it, I suggest we move. They climbed, hand over hand, in the dark. As the ice walls groaned, explosions rocked the shaft. Gravity failure, Gant yelled, as a charge detonated below. The world went sideways. They were floating. The gravity lift of the artificial gravity was gone. They were in a zero-G hell, chunks of ice and Xylotian mercenaries tumbling in the dark. It was chaos. Blaster fire illuminated the tumbling bodies. Cal used his implant, firing, using the recoil to push himself up the shaft. He was a smuggler. He knew zero-G. The Xylotians did not. He reached the top. He slammed the emergency override. The gravity is engaged with a bone-jarring thud. Bodies and parts of bodies crashed to the floor. Well, Gant panted, pulling himself up. That was cinematic. Where is Sev? Cal asked. Right here, Master. The droid's voice came from a pile of ice rubble, merely contemplating the inherent fragility of existence, and my left tread, which is gone. Cal grabbed the droid. We are moving. They burst through a final grate. They were not in ice anymore. They were in a service corridor of polished marble. They could hear music, a low, formal organ procession. The chapel, Cal breathed. Guards, Gant said, pointing. 2 Sarai guards. But they were wearing the black and silver of Senex's house. Thump, thump. Cal did not wait. He dropped them both. He kicked the double doors open. The music stopped. The high chapel was packed. Hundreds of nobles, delegates from every race in the Concordium. The queen, Sereth, was on her throne, her face a mask of stone. And at the altar, Lord Senex, in full, armored regalia, holding the arm of Princess Virelia. She was in a white ceremonial gown. But her eyes, her violet eyes, were dull, unfocused, vacant, drugged. She was a doll, a trophy. Senex turned, his face a mask of pure, triumphant rage. You, he snarled. Cal was a nightmare. He was covered in ice grime, his suit torn, his arm smoking, dragging a one-treaded droid. Get her, Cal said to Gant, with pleasure. Gant unholstered his blasters, firing into the air. Everyone stay in your seats, this is a rescue! The nobles screamed. Chaos. Cal walked down the aisle. He did not run. He walked right toward Senex. Senex drew his own weapon, a ceremonial blaster. He aimed it at Virelia's head. One more step, Terran, and the bonding is over. She is not a thing, Cal said, his voice a low growl. He was 10 feet away. She is mine, Senex spat. Cal smiled. It was the smile from the hangar. No, he said, she is not. He did not go for his implant. He threw Sev. With all his strength, he hurled the 90-kilo droid at Senex. Senex, confused, fired at the droid. The blast hit Sev square in the chassis, sending him spinning. But it was the opening Cal needed. He closed the distance in 2 steps. He did not go for the gun. He hit Senex in the throat, an old Earther bar fight move. Senex gagged, choking. The blaster hand wavered. Cal's hand was faster. He grabbed the blaster from Senex's grip, reversed it, and slammed the hot barrel against Senex's temple, in one fluid, brutal motion. This, Cal Becker panted, his gun to Senex's head, his other arm wrapping around Virelia's waist, pulling her limp but warm, body to his. Is not a bonding. This is a kidnapping. He turned to the stunned, silent crowd. to the Queen. And I, he said, dragging Virelia backward, am posting the bail. The hangars! Gant yelled, firing at Senex's guards as they finally rushed the stage. They ran, back through the service corridors. They did not go for Ryla's ship. It was too far. There, Cal pointed, a diplomatic vessel, small, fast, unarmed, and unlocked. They piled in. Cal slammed his hand on the ignition. The engines whined. Get us out of here, Sev. My optical sensors are fried, Master. Sev sparked. Cal took the controls. He had never flown a Sarai diplomatic ship. Engines are like engines, he muttered. He pushed the throttle to the firewall. The ship screamed out of the hangar, straight up, punching through the thin atmosphere. A second later, the sky behind them lit up. 236 war drones, black and silver, Senex's drones, rising from the palace. They were in orbit, in a stolen, unarmed ship, with a drugged princess, and an army on their tail. Okay, Cal breathed, his knuckles white on the controls. Now, we run. The ship was a stolen heart, beating frantically in the chest of the void. Cal had a name for it, the Gilded Ghost. It was a Sarai diplomatic courier, built for speed and luxury, not for combat. It had no weapons. Its shields were designed to deflect media drones, not plasma fire, and its paint job was a pearlescent white that screamed, "Shoot me first." He was pushing it to its absolute limit, running it dark. He had made 3 blind, desperate jumps. The last one had been a gamble, a half-corrupted sector coordinate from his old smuggling days. They dropped out of the jump lane into a graveyard. It was the Umbra Maw, a forbidden sector, a place where a star had collapsed, not into a black hole, but into a mess, a knot of unstable gravity, a region where space-time was torn and seething. Navigation charts were useless here. It was the one place in the galaxy where no one went. Cal cut the main drive. The ship fell silent. The only sound was the hiss of the life support. Where are we? Virelia. Her voice was a dry rasp. She was in the co-pilot's seat, still wrapped in the torn white silk of the ceremonial bonding gown. The drugs were wearing off, leaving her pale, shaking, and hollow-eyed. A place where no one will look, Cal said, his hands still gripping the controls. We are okay. We are safe. Safe? She looked at the viewport. Outside, there was nothing, no stars, just a churning, bruised purple nebula that looked like a cosmic storm. This is not safe, Cal. This is lost. Lost is safe, he said. He finally let go of the controls. His knuckles were white. We have a few hours, maybe a day, before they figure out where we are not. Senex's fleet will be checking the main trade lanes. The Queen's fleet, your mother. She will be checking the royal sanctuaries. And us? We are here. In the one place no one will come when we are noisy, Segor, we are static, when we are hidden. He unstrapped. His body ached. He looked at her. The princess, the trophy, was gone. The woman who remained looked broken. He went to the ship's small galley. He found a nutrient pack and a water bulb. He brought them to her. Drink, he said. She stared at the bulb, then at him. Her eyes, the dull haze, were gone, replaced by a deep, haunted trauma. He had me, she whispered. I was there. I was wearing a gown, and I could not move. I could not scream. It is over, Cal said, his voice rough. He forced the bulb into her hand. He did not win. We are here. Here, she repeated, taking a sip. The water seemed to bring a spark of life back. We are here, in a stolen ship, in a dead sector, with 2 fleets hunting us. She was right. The adrenaline high of the escape was gone, replaced by the cold, crushing reality. They had not won. They had just escaped. Virelia got up, her legs unsteady. She used the bulkhead for support. My mother, she just sat there. She watched. She let him. She was trapped. Virelia, like you said. She is the queen. She slammed her hand against the wall, a flash of her old fire. She could have stopped it. And what? Cal countered, turning, his own frustration surfacing. Start a civil war in the middle of the chapel? Senex had half the council. He had his guards. What was she supposed to do? Her duty, Virelia yelled, her voice cracking. The duty she has been beating into me my entire life. To protect the dynasty, to protect me. Senex changed the game. Virelia, he was not playing by the rules, and now, neither are we. She was breathing hard, the color high in her cheeks. This was good. The anger was better than the hollow doll at the altar. So what now, Cal? She demanded, stalking the small cabin. What is the Earther plan? We hide? We drift in this purple fog until our air runs out? Until Senex's war drones sniff us out? The plan, Cal said, his voice low, is to live. The plan is to do what you should have done from the beginning. Run. She stopped. She stared at him as if he had just spoken a terrible blasphemy. Run. Yes, run. You have the data crystal. You have the proof. We cannot broadcast it from here. We cannot fight his fleet. We cannot fight your mothers. We are two people in a high-speed yacht. We are outgunned. He stepped toward her. So, we run. We take this ship and we find Ryla. We got a real ship. We go to the outer rim. We go where the Concordium's reach is thin. We disappear. Disappear, she whispered. The word sounded like acid. Abandon everything. My people. My world. They are not your people anymore, Virelia, he said, his voice rising, grabbing her arms. They are the people who sat and watched. They are the people who let your council sell you. They are the people who will watch Senex gut your planet and call it stability. That is not true. It is. You said it yourself. You are a symbol. You are not a person. Well, I am not interested in saving the goddamned symbol. I am interested in saving the person. I am saving the woman who was in that gown. I am saving you. He was shouting. She was shaking, not from fear, from rage. You do not get to make that choice for me. She tore her arms from his grasp. You do not get to decide. This is not your life. It is now, he yelled back. I am in it, remember? The guns, the assassins, the chase. I am here, and I am telling you the only way we survive is to let it go. Let the throne go. Let the dynasty go. Let it all burn. What is it worth, Virelia? What is it worth if you are dead, or if you are his living trophy? The fight went out of her. She deflated. The rage was replaced by a vast, cold despair. She sank into the pilot's chair. You do not understand, she whispered, her face in her hands. I run if I am no one. You are not no one. He knelt in front of her. You are Virelia. You are the woman who hired a scoundrel on a dust moon. You are the woman who laughed at Senex. You are not a princess. You are a survivor. Just like me. He put his hand on hers. We can start over, somewhere new, somewhere where no one knows your name, where you are not a promise. You are just a person, where you can choose your own food. The corner of her mouth twitched, a ghost of a smile. We can be free, he whispered. Together. She looked at him. Her violet eyes searched for him. She was torn. The two halves of her life, the duty and the desire, were ripping her apart. She did not say yes. She did not say no. She just leaned forward and kissed him, and it was not a kiss of passion. It was a kiss of exhaustion, of confusion, of desperation. It was a kiss that said, I do not know what to do. So I will just be with you. Right now. The ship was silent. The purple light of the Umbra Maw pulsed outside. The universe was on hold. He kissed her back. He let go of the anger. He let go of the plan. He just held her. This time, it was different. Not the raw passion on the warship. Not the desperate collision in the suite. This was slow. This was deep. This was a moment of intimacy in the absolute vacuum of space. A flicker of warmth in a dying star's grave. Time suspended, and there were no fleets. There was no Senex. There was no throne. There was just Cal. And just Virelia. He led her from the cockpit. The stolen ship had a diplomatic suite. A real bed. Silk sheets. The very thing he had joked about, all those lifetimes ago on Joran 3. He had forgotten. She had not. She touched the silk. "You're your bed," she whispered. "It does not matter," he said. "It does," she said. They made love. It was a quiet, profound act. It was a promise, not of the future, but of a present. It was two people, stripped of everything, their titles, their pasts, their plans, finding solace in the one thing that felt real. It was an act of defiance against fate, a moment of peace in the heart of the war. When Cal awoke, the light in the cabin was the same bruised purple. Nothing had changed, and everything had. Virelia was not in the bed. He sat up, his heart hammering. "Virelia?" He found her in the cockpit. She was not in the silk gown. She was in one of his spare flight suits, the one he kept in his go bag. It was too big for her. She had rolled up her sleeves. She was sitting in the pilot's chair, her hands on the controls. She was studying the sensor readouts. She looked different. She looked solid. "You were right," she said, not turning. Her voice was clear. The doubt was gone. Cal leaned against the doorframe, his heart slowing. "I was?" "You were right," she said, "that I am not my duty, that I am not just a symbol, that I do not have to die, that I do not have to be a trophy." She turned, and the look in her eye was not the princess. It was not the victim. It was a queen. "But you were wrong," she said, "that I can run." Cal's hope, the one he had barely dared to have, faltered. "Virelia. No, listen." She stood. She was the commander of the Silver Throne again, but more. "I cannot abandon them, not because of duty, not because of honor, but because he will hurt them. Senex. He will bleed my worlds dry to pay for his armies. He will punish them for my defiance. I will not run and let 1 billion people pay the price for my freedom." She walked to him. "I am not choosing between duty and desire, Cal. I am not choosing between my throne and you. That is the lie they have told me my entire life. I am choosing a third option, which is, I will not run. I will not marry. I will not die. I will fight." She tapped the console. "This ship, it is a diplomatic vessel. It has a full Concordium emergency channel." Cal's eyes went wide. The diplomatic pulse. The one channel that bypasses all protocols. The one channel that beams to every capital ship, every media hub, and every noble house in the galaxy. It is designed to protect an ambassador in a hostage situation, which I believe I was. She held out her hand. "Give it to me." "Give you what?" "The data crystal, the one you stole from Senex's flagship, the one you have hidden in your boot." He stared. A slow smile spread across his face. He reached down, pulling the crystal from a hidden compartment in his heel. "I am a hell of a pilot," he said, dropping it into her hand. "And I," she said, "am a hell of a princess." She plugged it into the comm console. "This ship's power core cannot handle a broadcast this powerful for long. Not from inside the maw. The gravimetric interference is too high. We have to get out." "Out," Cal said, "means being seen." "Exactly. she said, her fingers flying over the controls, programming the broadcast. I need you to get us to the edge of the maw. I need you to hold us steady for exactly 90 seconds, long enough for the broadcast to upload. And then I need you to fly like you are running from a Zolotian bar fight. He strapped into the pilot's chair. You have got a deal. He fired the engines. The gilded ghost roared to life. He pushed it out of the purple fog, back into the real world. The second they cleared the Umbra Maw, the universe screamed, "Alarms!" Cal shouted, the console lighting up. We have been spotted. It is the Queen's fleet. The Silver Throne is here, and Senex's fleet is with them. They are blockading the sector. Hold, steady. Virelia's hands were a blur. They are launching drones. They are hailing us. They are powering weapons. Broadcasting, Virelia yelled. On all channels. Now. Cal. Now. The galaxy's media feeds, the private comms of 1,000 noble houses, the main view screens on the Silver Throne and the Iron Hand all went black. And then they lit up, with Senex's voice. She is a child, a symbol. She will be martyred. With Senex's bank records, the transfers to the Council, with Senex's contracts, the ones for the Kython mercenaries. It was 90 seconds of pure, undeniable truth. Broadcast complete, Virelia yelled. Get us out of here. I am trying. Cal yanked the stick, the small ship diving under a wave of plasma fire. The Queen's fleet was holding. But Senex's drones were not. They were firing to kill. The Silver Throne is moving, Virelia said, watching the scanner. Cal is moving between us and Senex's fleet. Your mother, Cal panted, dodging a drone, is finally doing her duty. A voice boomed over the comm. Not hail. An open channel. It was Queen Sereth. Lord Senex. Her voice was ice. By the authority of the Sarai dynasty, your diplomatic immunity is revoked. Your actions are declared hostile. Surrender your ship and your person or be destroyed. She did it, Virelia whispered, tears streaming down her face. She heard me. She did it because you gave her no choice, Cal said, grinning. A vicious civil unrest and a war erupted in the stars. The noble houses that were loyal to the Queen turned on the ones who had taken Senex's bribes. The galaxy was in chaos. Senex did not surrender. His flagship, the Iron Hand, fired. Not at the Queen. It jumped. It fled. He is running, Cal said, easing the throttle. They were safe. The Silver Throne was a wall of silver protecting them. He is not running, Virelia said, her face pale. She was looking at a new comm signal, a distress call. He is retaliating. What? It is a bounty, a galaxy-wide bounty. He is not targeting us. He is targeting you. She read from the screen, her voice sick. For the capture or death of the Terran smuggler Cal Becker, and his associates are an Andromedan pirate known as Ryla, a Terran ex-soldier named Gant, and a full-scale punitive strike against the Joran 3 trading hub for harboring a terrorist. Cal's blood went cold. His past, his contacts, his home, the rusting hangar, the cold cot. Senex was not just a noble. He was a monster. He could not get to the princess, so he was burning the smuggler's life to the ground. Cal, Virelia whispered, her hand on his arm. He shook his head. The tables had turned. He was the one who had to go back. She was the one who had to stay. I have to go, he said. His voice was flat. What? No. Cal, you cannot. It is a trap. He is baiting you. It is not a trap, Cal said, turning the ship not towards the Silver Throne, but towards the open black. It is a target. Ryla, Gant, the people on that moon. They are in this because of me. I dragged them into this. I am not letting them pay the price for my weekend. My mother will protect them. My fleets will. Your fleets are in a civil war, Cal shouted. Your mother is trying to hold your throne. She cannot protect a backwater moon 1,000 light years away. But I can. He was not a noble. He was not a soldier. He was a smuggler. And these were his people. Do not go, she begged, her eyes filling with tears again. Do not leave me. We are in this together. He grabbed her face. He kissed her. Hard. We are. Which is why you have to let me go. You are the rebellion, Virelia. You are the face of it. You have to go back to your fleet. You have to win your war. And you, she whispered, I am going to take out the trash. He smiled, that old, roguish smile. He wants to make it personal. Okay, let's make it personal. He steered the gilded ghost toward the open hangar of the silver throne. I need my ship, Princess, the little one, the Shadow State. And I need Gant and Ryla. He wants a smuggler. He is going to get one. Virelia did not argue. She saw the steel in his eyes, the same steel that was in hers. Come back alive, Cal Becker, she whispered, her forehead against his. I am not asking. I am ordering. I will see you, he said, when the war is over. He docked the diplomatic ship. He did not wait for an honor guard. He ran to the Shadow State. He opened a private comm channel, one that Senex would never monitor, an old pirate frequency. Ryla, Gant, you two are still breathing? Gant's voice crackled back. For now, Becker. That was one hell of a show. You have got a bounty on your head the size of a planet. I know, Cal said, firing up the engines of the stealth cruiser. How do you feel about doubling it? What is the plan? Ryla's voice cut in. Guerrilla tactics, Cal said, the Shadow State lifting off the deck. He is on the Iron Hand. He is wounded. He is hiding. But I know where he is running. He is running to his supply lines. He is running for his money. He pushed the stealth cruiser out of the hangar, a ghost in the middle of a war zone. We are not going to fight his fleet, Cal said, his voice cold as the void. We are going to board his flagship. We are going to cut off the head of the snake. The Earther way. The Iron Hand was running. It was a wounded beast, bleeding plasma from its port engine, its stealth drives failing. Senex's flagship, the pride of his armada, was fleeing the civil war he had started, limping toward a secret supply depot in the outer rim. He never made it, clamped to its hull, like a steel parasite, was the Shadow State. Cal's stealth cruiser. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of ozone and cold sweat. We are on, Cal said, his voice a low rasp. He was checking the seals on his suit. This is the single most insane plan you have ever devised. Becker. Gant's voice crackled over the comm. The old pirate was in the stealth ship's cargo bay, priming a series of magnetic charges. Boarding a flagship, in mid-flight, with a crew of 4, and one of them is a broken droid. I am a tactical unit, you ancient Terran. Sev buzzed from his station. His voice was a static hiss, his chassis still sparking from the chapel fight. 4.5, Ryla said, her forearms a blur as she sliced the Iron Hand's external hatch codes. Her nebulous skin seemed to swirl in the dim light. And he is right. Cal, this is stupid. I love it. It's not stupid, Cal said, clamping his helmet. It's guerrilla tactics. He expects a fleet to fight him. He does not expect a rat in his engine room. Ryla, cut the power to this sector. Gant, get ready to blow the hatch. Sev, find me the bridge. And everyone, this is a 0G fight. They are soldiers. We are smugglers. Use the chaos. Do not be a target. Got it, Ryla said. Gravity plating in Sector 4 is now offline. Have fun floating. The hum of the Iron Hand's internal gravity died. Gant hit the detonator. Boom! The hatch blew inward. Cal, Ryla, and Gant fired their thruster packs, launching themselves into the darkness of the ship. It was a maelstrom. The corridor was in chaos. Alarms blared. Red lights strobing. Zalosian mercenaries, caught by the sudden loss of gravity, were tumbling in the air, their heavy armor a liability. "Go, go, go!" Cal yelled, pushing off a bulkhead. His team was lethal. Ryla, with 4 arms and 4 magnetic grips, moved like a spider, firing in all directions. Gant was a floating turret, his heavy blasters punching holes in the Zalosian ranks. And Cal was a ghost. He used his implant. Thump, thump, thump. The silent flechettes were perfect in 0G. No recoil, no flash, just death. A mercenary would raise his weapon and then just stop, a neat trio of holes in his visor. "Sev, talk to me. Where is the bridge?" Cal shouted, reloading a flechette clip. "2 levels up." "Master," the droid's voice crackled. "But they are adapting. They are sealing the bulkheads. You have 90 seconds before this entire sector is vented into space." "We have to move!" Ryla yelled, blasting a locking mechanism. They reached a central junction, a nexus of corridors, and a platoon of Senex's personal guard, black and silver armor, energy shields. "They are ready for us," Gant growled. "Sabotage," Cal said. "Ryla, the life support. Sev, the door to the bridge. Gant, with me. We make a hole." "I am in the system," Sev buzzed, plugging into a wall panel. "Rerouting all oxygen to the brig. How ironic." "Life support is failing," Ryla said, her own slicer working. "Give them 5 minutes. They will be asphyxiated by their own carbon dioxide." "We do not have 5 minutes," Cal said. The guards opened fire, a wall of plasma. "They are sealing the bridge door. It's a titanium blast door," Sev yelled. They were pinned down. The mission was failing. "This is a bad trade," Gant said, looking at the door, then at Cal. "Gant, no," Cal said, seeing the look in the old pirate's eye. "It's a hell of a trade. Becker." Gant grinned, his metal teeth gleaming. He was holding the last of the magnetic charges. "A pirate's boot to a noble's ass. I like those odds." "Gant, do not." "You go give him hell, kid," Gant said. He pushed Cal and Ryla back into an alcove. "This is a good day to die." The old pirate hit his thrusters, launching himself into the middle of the plasma fire, a one-man army. He was a vision of fury, his heavy blasters roaring. He reached the blast door just as the guards cut him down. His hand slammed the charge onto the door. "Ryla, Cal!" His voice was a gasp. "Go get Rich!" The explosion was not a sound. It was a concussion that tore the ship apart. It sucked the air, the guards, and the very light from the corridor. Cal and Ryla flew through the smoke, through the hole. "Hold this door. Ryla!" Cal panted, his heart broken. "Keep Sev safe. No one else gets through. This is my fight." Ryla looked at the carnage, at the space where Gant used to be. She nodded, her face a mask of cold fury. "Kill him, Cal. Kill him slowly." Cal hit the bridge door. It slid open. The bridge was in chaos, dead. The gravity was on here, but the life support was failing and the air was thin. Crew members were slumped over their consoles, asphyxiated. And in the center, on the command throne, was Lord Senex. He was in full black and silver battle armor. A personal rebreather was on his face. He stood up. He was a mountain. "You!" Senex snarled, his voice a synthesized growl. "You rodent! You Terran filth!" He drew a long, glowing energy blade. "You have cost me everything. My throne, my fleet, my name. I am going to enjoy this." "Get in line!" Cal gasped, the air thin, his lungs burning. He fired his implant. Thump, thump, thump. The flechettes hit Senex's armor and sparked, deflected by a personal energy shield. My armor is Xylochian, Senex sneered, advancing. It is proof against artillery. Your Terran toys are useless. Cal dodged the first swing of the blade. It hissed, cutting a console in half. The fight was not a fight. It was a beating. Senex was stronger, faster, and better protected. Cal was a brawler. Senex was a warrior. Senex grabbed Cal's implant arm, twisting. There was a sickening crunch of metal and bone. Cal roared in agony. The implant was dead, shattered. Senex threw him across the bridge. Cal crashed against the viewport, the stars spinning. His ribs were broken. He was going to die. Your little princess is next, Senex panted, walking toward him. I will find her. I will break her. And she will know that her pet died for nothing, died screaming. Cal coughed. Blood flecked the inside of his helmet. He was on the floor, his good arm reaching. He looked at his torn jacket, which Senex had ripped from him in the fight. It was on the floor, 10 feet away. You talk too much, Cal gasped. Senex raised the energy blade. Goodbye, rodent. Master! A voice, weak, static-filled. Senex paused. He turned. Sev. The little droid was rolling onto the bridge, sparking, his left tread gone, dragging himself by one interface arm. He was a wreck. Master! Sev buzzed, his voice failing. I regret to inform you that my chassis is compromised. Senex let out a roar of pure frustration. Insolent machine, die with your master! He turned away from Cal. He raised his blaster and fired a single powerful shot at the droid. Sev! Cal screamed. The droid exploded, but it was not a normal explosion, and it was a pulse. A silent, blue-white wave of pure energy. An EMP. The device had been in Cal's jacket. He had been reaching for the detonator. But Sev had seen. The droid had rolled over it, triggering it with Senex's blast. The EMP wave washed over the bridge. Senex's energy blade hissed and died. The lights on his Xylochian armor flickered and went out. His rebreather shut down. His shield was gone. The bridge was plunged into near darkness, lit only by the red emergency lights. Senex tapped his armor. No, no. Cal Becker was getting up. He was bleeding. His arm was broken. But he was smiling. Old Earth trick, Cal gasped, picking up a solid metal bar from a broken console. Called Turn Off the Lights. Virelia was not far behind. She ran onto the bridge. She pushed past her mother, past the guards. She saw the carnage, the dead crew, the smoking chassis of a brave little droid. And Cal. He was leaning against the viewport, covered in blood and grime, holding his broken arm. He looked up as she entered. Cal. She ran to him, her own tears streaking the soot on her face. She did not care about the Queen. She did not care about the guards. She crashed into him, holding him, burying her face in his chest. You are alive, she whispered, her voice breaking. Told you, he gasped, his one good arm wrapping around her. I am a hell of a pilot, and you have a mess to clean up. The grand concourse on Velithos was packed. The galaxy was watching. Virelia, the princess heir of House Sarai, stood at the podium. She was not in a gown. She was in the black and silver uniform of a commander of the fleet. She looked like her mother. She looked like a queen. Cal stood behind her, to her right. His arm was in a black synth cast, his face still bruised, but his eyes were clear. Ryla stood with him. She had been given a full pardon and a new ship. The war is over, Virelia's voice rang out, clear and cold. The corruption has been purged. Lord Senex is in the ice cells. My house is secure. My council has been reformed. The age of fear is done. A noble, one of the old guards, shouted from the crowd, But the dynasty, the alliances, you must secure the throne, you must bond. Virelia smiled. It was a slow, dangerous smile. You are right, Lord Krell. The old traditions must be honored. She paused, the silence of the concourse so deep it was a sound. But they must also be rewritten. She turned her head, her violet eyes sweeping the crowd. I publicly declare my refusal of any and all political marriage. A galaxy-wide gasp. I claim my right, she continued, her voice rising, as heir of Sarai, as victor of this war, to choose my own bondmate, the one who stood with me, the one who fought for me, the one who bled for my people, the one who showed me what freedom was. She turned. She did not look at the crowd. She looked at Cal. She held out her hand. I choose Cal Becker of Earth. The silence was a physical blow. It was the sound of 1,000 years of tradition shattering. Cal looked at her hand. He took it. Queen Sareth stepped forward. She looked at Cal, her face unreadable. A smuggler, a mechanic, a rebellion in a man's body, a mess. He is my mess. Mother, Virelia said, her voice soft. The queen looked at her daughter, and for the first time her cold eyes warmed. You have chosen a storm, my daughter, not a prince. He is not a man. He is a choice. Then I will be the eye of it, Virelia replied, squeezing Cal's hand. The queen nodded, a single sharp nod. So be it. The blessing of the throne is yours. But know this, both of you, the price of such freedom is high. You will pay for it for the rest of your lives. She gave her blessing. It was a warning, and it was a promise. Cal's quarters were not on the silver throne. Virelia had a new flagship, a sleek, fast vessel designed for exploration, not just war, a ship for a new age. He walked into his suite. He had been in the medbay for 3 days. He was clean. He was healing. He stopped in the doorway. The room was Sarayan, polished metal, cool blue light, all except one thing, the bed. It was in the center of the room. It was massive. The sheets were the purest white silk, and the frame was not metal. It was not crystal. It was wood, dark, rich, heavy wood. Cal walked over. He touched it. He could smell the grain. He could smell the faint, impossible scent of rain. It was earthwood. The last of the Terran redwood, a voice said from the viewport. Virelia was standing there, out of her uniform in a simple black robe. I had it requisitioned, from a museum. I thought you deserved a real bed. Cal looked at the bed, the joke he had made in a rusting hangar a lifetime ago, the one thing he had asked for. He walked over to her. She looked out at the stars, at the new, peaceful galaxy. He stood beside her, his bruised hand finding hers. Guess I'm not just your weekend boyfriend after all, he whispered. She turned. She looked up at him, her violet eyes filled with a light that outshone the stars. She cupped his face, pulling him down. She kissed him, deeply, a kiss of promise, of peace, and of a fierce, earned love. You're my rebellion, she replied, her lips against his, and my home. They stood there, side by side, as the ship moved toward the starlight. A new age for Sarai was beginning. It was not an age built on fear, or on alliances, or on tradition. It was built on choice.